If you've ever wondered where clay comes from, what it actually is, and what makes it special, then this video is for you. Clay is formed when granite is eroded and weathered over millions of years so that the minerals in granite are broken down into fine, flat particles that are able to slide over one another, which forms the plastic, beautiful substance we know as clay.
Now that you have your clay, you need to wedge it, which is the process you use to remove air bubbles. Pro potters use a process where you knead the clay, but you can wedge it by keeping it in your hands and hitting it against the clay mat. Here's an example. If you want to attach two pieces of clay, you need to score and slip. Here is an example of how to do that.
To attach two pieces of clay together, you need to make sure that you score and add slip. If you just push your clay together like this, when it goes through the kiln, it will fall apart. If you scratch it and add slip, which is our glue, it'll kind of form a Velcro-like bond that will be hard to get apart. So to get started, I want to attach this piece right here. I would take my sharpened stick and outline where I would like to have my piece attach, something like that. Then if you can find it, you can use a fork and you can scratch it like you mean it, not like somebody gave you a kitten. If you can't find a fork, you can use a sharpened stick to get the same effect. So then I have both my pieces scratched up, and what you're going to do is then you can add a little bit of slip, which is our glue for our clay. So I'm putting slip on my scratched areas. Then what I'm going to do is with my fork or my sharpened stick, re-scratch. And then I'm going to put this piece on top of this piece. If I push it down a little bit, I may have some extra slip there, which I can then clean off, put back in my slip container. Then what I'm going to do with my clay tool is I'm actually going to make this look like one piece of clay.
Clay needs to stay wet while you're working with it. If you're done for the day, place your project in a Ziploc bag and make sure it's properly closed. When you are done with your project, that is when you want the water to come out of your clay. When clay loses its moisture, it becomes very, very fragile. Once clay dries, and it takes about a week, you can't work on it anymore, and it is ready to go in the kiln. Here's an example of what that process looks like.
All right, so the next step when you are done with clay is that it has to sit over here on the shelves to dry. And so it usually takes it about a week to thoroughly dry out so all the water is gone. If the water is not completely gone, when it starts to heat up in the kiln, the water turns into steam and causes the clay to kind of explode. And so it shatters into a bunch of pieces. All right, so now it's time to load all of this into there. We've run out of room on this shelf to stack it any higher. So that's where these little pegs, the stilts, come in handy, because then they can hold up another shelf above the other one, and we can just keep stacking everything in until we have all our clay loaded. This little guy down here, he's like a thermometer for the kiln. He measures the temperature and how hot it gets inside. So this tells the kiln when to stop heating up or if it needs to heat up longer. So he's a pretty important guy, so I want to leave lots of room around him. All right, so the next step is to close the lid and secure it. And then over here on the control box, I need to tell it exactly what I need it to do. And it's time to open the kiln to see how everything turned out. Usually I fire after school, and then it takes that whole night to heat up to the temperature it's supposed to get to, which is close to 2,000 degrees. And then it has to slowly cool back when school starts. So let's open her up and see how everything turned out. And so it looks like we had a great fire. It doesn't look like anything got broken, and everything is just like it's supposed to be. And so now I have to take everything back out of the kiln.
Be respectful with the clay. No throwing clay or you will receive a referral and lose clay privileges. Clean up by wiping off your clay mat and desk and returning all clay supplies to their proper location. Don't clean your desk by brushing the clay to the floor. And I hope you have so much fun using clay.